We can adjust the time. Here you can select between 5 minutes and 30 minutes. Here it is the time that you would like to solve the clinical case, because at the body interact we have a proportional time. 20 minutes on body interact are more or less 1 hour in a real life. So the time inside the body interact, it is 3 times more faster than in a real life. It will be starting with short context briefing by the nurse right now that we will be also listening.
61-year-old man was found collapsed in his office. He regained consciousness and was driven to the emergency department by one of his co-workers. He is able to walk unassisted into the ED. He tells the triage nurse that he collapsed at work and now feels weak and overall not well.
So as in real life, some information is good information, some other information is not relevant. But we need also to understand what is the information that we need to take in account or what is the information that is not relevant. Right now, they are preparing.
I'm feeling really tired.
Scenario. So the patient is feeling really tired. I would like also to show you that I'm using in a Mac computer, but if I'm using in a mobile device, for example, the patient will be like this. So it adapt to the existing device that you will be also having, okay? Regarding the patient, we can see that the patient, we can change the position, we can sit the patient, we can change the cameras, we can see that the patient is sweating. It looks that he's a little bit tired, as he also mentioned, because the eyes are not so open, and it seems that he's not feeling pain. We can see that the chest movements are normal. The low members are also normal, and there is no edema. And we can see another views. Here we can see how he's doing from this side and also from this side. And all this is dynamic. I can start making questions to him. Although the questions will be the same all over the same clinical scenario, the answers will be different according to patient health condition. So right now I'm asking, how are you feeling right now? I will be clicking and he will be answering.
I'm a bit dizzy. I'm not sure what you mean.
And please do not forget this answer, because at the end of the clinical case, you will be answering differently. I can ask if he's feeling pain.
I'm not sure. Maybe.
I can ask regarding medication.
I'm taking this Gleeman, Damine once every day, and I'm also taking aspirin, also once every day. I'm feeling really tired.
And here, although we have a list of questions, there are questions that does not make sense ask. For example, how far do you walk each day does not make sense to ask, but I will ask.
I haven't been walking much.
But at the end of the clinical case, you will be seeing that is non-priority. You can also make the physical exam. Regarding different clinical areas, allows you to make different clinical exams. Like check the airway, for example. It is clear, not obstructed. You can also always call the report button here, that you can also see the report of the exam. You can send it away clicking on the cross or making this, or on the trash button, that all it will be also clean. You can make, for example, the pulmonary auscultation, that you will be dragging the stethoscope and you will be listening also the sounds. Sound is normal, normal, normal. You can see, for example, chest percussion, that I will be clicking on these predefined hotspots and I will be also listening the sounds. And I can also make the chest palpation, that I will be clicking and I receive feedback on text. I can also make the circulation, for example, make the pulse palpation, that I will be clicking.
I'm feeling really tired.
Receiving also the feedbacks. Regarding the disability, I can also make the pupil light reflex, that I will be driving the light to the pupils and I will be understanding if they are reactive or non-reactive. After this, I need to put in the default position, full mode, and I can go forward. There are, for example, imagine that I would like to make the Glasgow Coma scale. The Glasgow Coma scale I can order, but I will be not performing the exam, because I will be just only receiving the result as a table. I can start monitoring the patient, and this gives us a little bit more of stress, because you will be also seeing the time is running, the patient health conditions are deteriorating, and you felt also the stress. Here, we can also comment that regarding the vital signs. The blood pressure, it is a little bit high, although it is not the main problem. But imagine that oxygen saturation, 97%. We can go to the interventions, we can go to the oxygen and put a high flow,
1 minute.
60%, and you will
High
be
flow
also
mask in
seeing
place.
that the oxygen saturation will be starting increasing. Right now, it is starting increasing. The same thing, if you skip also this one, you will be also facing a down. The oxygen saturation will be starting also decreasing. So if we make
I'm
good
feeling
decisions,
really tired.
the patient health condition will go better. If we make wrong decisions, the patient health conditions will deteriorate. We can also request tests. I will be requesting, for example, a 12-lead
Just a
ECG.
moment. Here is
And
the
I will be
ECG.
also request the
A
biochemistry.
full biochemistry has been requested to the
The
lab.
exams are arriving, and I will be requesting, for example, a AP pelvis radiography. That does not make any sense
Test ordered.
in this specific clinical scenario. So the exams arrive. We can also check in detail the ECG. We can also call the report if we want to see the report that is here. And we can see that the patient is on sinus rhythm. In the meantime, already arrived the AP pelvis, that you see that there are no significant skeletal alterations that you can also see. Regarding biochemistry, all the parameters that are outside the reference interval are signalized with red. These are the parameters that we need to take in account. We need to take care of the blood glucose and the HbA1c. That is also the main problem. The HbA1, it is over the reference interval, and the blood sugar, it is below the reference interval. You can show that on the interventions. For example, imagine that I would like to put a peripheral catheter.
I'm feeling really
Inserting
tired.
catheter.
I can select and they can make it. Or I can select to put a catheter, I can pause the scenario, and I can go to a test trainer to train how to put the catheter on the mannequin, for example. And I can go forward, and the catheter will be on the left arm of the patient. And here, just only to make an example of how the algorithm works, I will be making a mistake. I will be selecting hormones, I will be selecting insulin, and I will give 6 units of insulin. And we already know that regarding the insulin, it is 40 milligrams by deciliter, so it is above the reference interval. And once I'm giving the insulin, once the insulin make effect, the patient will have a cardiac arrest. So right now, if you see, we are having a cardiac arrest. So we need to start making the manual compressions.
Applying
If
chest
you see the patient is
compressions.
cyanotic right now, I will be also connecting also the ventilator, and
Proceeding
I will be
to
also,
intubate.
as in a real life, I will
Done.
be also
Turning
giving
on ventilator.
adrenaline, 1 milligram of adrenaline. So it is to show that is a simple case that was an hypoglycemia, but if we make mistakes, the patient health conditions will be deteriorating. So right now, the patient is on the ventilator, the patient was making the life compressions, and right now the patient is back to life, but the scenario it is a little bit different. The oxygen saturation is down, blood pressure it is also down, and the blood sugar it is also down. So I will be designing a strategy to improve the blood pressure. I will give 1000 milliliters of crystalloid to raise the blood pressure. I will be also giving, for example, 30% glucose, 60 milliliters, because it will be helping to raise the blood sugar. So right now, I'm trying to stabilize the patient. Soon, the blood pressure will be start rising. The oxygen saturation is pretty fine, and the blood sugar, it is a little bit below the reference interval. So I need to come here and to give, I will try to give additional 10 milliliters of blood sugar. Anytime you can also see what were the steps that you have been doing all during all the clinical scenario. You can also see it. You can see that if we ask a question to the patient regarding how are you feeling right now,
I'm feeling weak.
he's still feeling weak because the blood sugar is still low. And I will give another because we can also adjust the dosage of the blood sugar, but I believe that soon you will be also recovering. So the patient is pretty stable. And once we adjust the dosage, the patient was saved, and we also receive a message that we make the case with success. If you notice, the patient, the answer was different. How are you feeling on the previous, when we started the clinical scenario, was different from this one that he already mentioned. The scenario can end in three different ways. Or I just decide that I quit the scenario, or the time was over, or the patient was so unstable that I am invited to go to debriefing, or I receive this message that meets the guidelines requirements and is a success message. I believe that you have a... Can you please open the micro?
Yeah, sorry. In this scenario right now, it's a success, but I maybe I missed it. Have we made a conclusion? What's
yes,
the issue?
Because here in this specific clinical scenarios, I need to raise the blood sugar.
Yeah, but okay, so that's
yes. Okay. And once I already made all the steps, the parameters are also already healthy parameters. That's why we receive this message that we solve the case according to the guidelines.
Understood.
Okay, right now we can go
so
to
one question. So it's not a basic. Is it an advanced level or?
This is, I believe that it is an intermediate scenario, but it is very easy to use in front of the customers because you can also show that there are different answers, different exams, that you can also make a cardiac arrest to the patient, and you can also recover the patient from the cardiac arrest. This is my favorite scenario to show in every meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you are pretty comfortable to show it and to practice. Pretty comfortable.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, you are very
welcome. And here actually you have to, sorry, that's where I was.
Yes, here at the end, I will be telling what is the diagnosis. This was an hypoglycemia. I will confirm, and it was correct. If I miss the diagnosis, I will be not having the correct answer from the diagnosis. I will be just only have a cross, red cross, telling that it was not correct, my decision. Okay. And here, I have the debriefing tools. I can see the whole timeline that I can down, and I can understand what were the first priority items that I made, what were the second, and what was the non-priority, for example. Here are the non-priority. How much do you walk each day? It's non-priority. High flow mask, it's non-priority. AP pelvis, it's non-priority. Insulin, it's non-priority, and everything. But I prefer to have all the priorities that also have associated color that give us the green first priority, orange second priority, and gray it is non-priority. Yeah. And here you can also go down, and you can also see all the vitals are changing, and you can also understand what was the impact of your decisions in the untreated conditions of the patient. And from here to here, you can see on the vitals that was the cardiac arrest. Why? And you can also see because we gave the 6 units of insulin. That's why the patient came here to here with a cardiac arrest. So at the end of the clinical scenario, if you see the untreated conditions, there are no untreated conditions to treat. The same thing for the score. In the score, you can also see item by item. For example, on the circulation, I should also order the capillary fill time that I did not order. Regarding, for example, the exposure, I should also check the temperature. and it is second priority. I can check, but it is not mandatory, the abdominal percussion and the abdominal palpation, but it is not mandatory. If we go to the treatment, we can see that regarding the interventions, I made the peripheral catheter that was priority, but based on the state of admission of the patient, it is not recommended to make the high flow, manual compressions, and the invasive ventilation. But this is always based on the patient condition on admission, because we already know that we must do to this patient the manual compressions. But based on the condition of the admission, the manual compressions are not mandatory in this specific patient. The same thing for the medication. We can give the 30% glucose that was right. We can also probably give the 5% glucose, 10% glucose or the oral glucose, and it is non-priority to make the insulin, adrenaline, and also the crystalloid. So you always have associated record here. You can also see what were the competencies that we have been working with the patient. We do not work the capillary fill time and the temperature. That were two competencies that we missed. And here you can also see what were the general learning objectives, specific learning objectives, and the scientific references. Here it is what is the science that is behind this specific clinical scenario. And you can also check